his time serving as a co-host. Outside of spaceflight, he's a passionate learner into geology, astronomy, reading, and languages, and he's conversant in both Japanese and Russian, a skill that comes in handy on the International Space Station. He's also a kind of a favorite of the commercial crew program because they work with him so much in the lead up to putting Dragon and Starliner on that path to becoming vehicles that travel to the space station.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been at the heart of the development of commercial crew programs capabilities over the last decade. His heart and soul is in this program, and his fingerprints are all over it. And it's exciting to see him uh, taking one of those for a ride.
It's been 14 years, a long time waiting for him since his last flight, but he's hung in there.
Yeah, he more than hung in there. He's been hard at work. So this is going to be a great day.
Our mission specialist for Crew 11, our first one, is Kimiya Yui. There he is, representing the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA, a former test pilot and Air Force officer. Yui graduated from Japan's National Defense Academy in 1992 and rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel in the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force. He was selected as a JAXA astronaut in 2009 and made his first trip to space in 2015, spending 142 days aboard the International Space Station as part of Expeditions 44 and 45. During that mission, he made history as the first Japanese astronaut to capture JAXA's H-2 transfer vehicle, a crucial piece of cargo hardware. He also helped build out a new experimental module inside Kibo, Japan's laboratory on station, and carried out 21 experiments on behalf of JAXA. In 2016, Yui was named chief of JAXA's astronaut group, and today he is on his way back to space. And Mike Fincke calls him the wise one.
Well, you can see why, or his experiences show that he has that wisdom that he brings to the job. But he also has a good sense of humor and a great personality. So Kimiya is an amazing guy and fun to always work with when you get the chance.
Rounding out our crew, mission specialist Oleg Platonov, flying to space for the very first time. And there he is. He's a cosmonaut with Roscosmos, Russia's space agency, and a graduate of the Krasnodar Higher Military Aviation School of Pilots. That's where he earned a degree in engineering and the rank of lieutenant. Platonov completed his cosmonaut training in 2018 and was certified as a test cosmonaut that same year. Earlier this year, Roscosmos announced that he would launch to the International Space Station aboard a Crew Dragon as part of Crew 11. That marked a new chapter in international collaboration. He is married, has one child, and today begins his first journey to space, weather permitting.
Yeah, and so Oleg's in the newest class of cosmonauts over there, and had the chance to cross paths with him a couple times. He has just got an amazing personality.
Aura countdown, side hatches open on schedule.
Continue to be on schedule. That's good. And he's got a great sense of humor. He loves to crack jokes, and is just a really great guy.
Mike Fincke says he's funnier than he is, than himself, which is,
Mike's a funny guy, so that's a pretty high bar.
and he knows it apparently. Well, if you're watching right now, we would love for you to be part of the show. And so just send us a note, send Nick a question. We'll be looking at those throughout today's broadcast. Just send it to us via our media platforms on X, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, and use the hashtag AskNASA. We'll be answering those questions live as we count down to launch. So don't be shy. Jump into that conversation. Nick wants to hear from you. We want to get your questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we only got to like 4 questions yesterday. I'd like to get to 10 times more.
10 times more?
Okay, maybe
what?
double. If we can squeeze in double, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Challenge to the broadcast team.
All right. Well, the challenge has been laid down, folks, as we watch Mike and Kimiya and Zena pose for pictures. The location we're at is the astronaut crew quarters. This is the suit-up room inside the operations and checkout facility. This is about a 20-minute drive from the launch pad. And this is where the team gets ready. This is their second time going through this routine. So given that, Nick, do they get any quicker as they get ready?
Well, they're definitely more comfortable. You can tell that today. So this is the third time that they've gone through this process in the last week. You had dry dress, and then yesterday.
Suit up and leak checks are complete on schedule.
And as we can tell, they pass their leak checks because they're doing photo ops in the suit up room. But after going through a scrub, the next day, everything's pretty fresh. The nerves aren't there as much. You still have that blender of emotions that you're going to be going through, but you're ready to go, and you can tell the mood is positive and they are excited.
I do sense that more relaxed vibe inside this room than it was yesterday. It seemed like there maybe was a little more nervous energy, but just like you said.
This is LD on countdown with a situational briefing. Currently, all bottles are at MEOP, and earlier Dragon gyro compass alignment was completed and passing. We remain on track to an 11:43:42 a.m. Eastern T0. Both NASA and SpaceX have completed the COLA screening process with no COLA conjunctions at our current T0. The advanced team is at the White Room and the side hatch is open, and they're making preparations for receiving the crew. Crew's ongoing suit up at the ONC building. Launch site weather for today was briefed earlier at 40% POV due to the cumulus cloud rule, and we'll be monitoring the chance of convective activity near the pad. Reminder to use procedure 52.911 crew contingency procedures for any required crew contingency action in today's operations. Overall, Falcon, Dragon, and the pad remain healthy. Pending any questions, that concludes the brief.
Well, that was a brief from SpaceX's launch director for today. You heard the weather mentioned, 40% probability of violation, so that puts it at 60% go. For today, that is a lower chance of go than we had even after the LWO put out his weather forecast yesterday, initially starting it off at 25% POV. That has increased to 40% due to the arrival of those sea breeze, that sea breeze activity, that convective activity he talked about, which will happen along the coastline. We'll talk more about the weather in a bit, but first we want to talk about one of the support folks that's here inside the room as part of the team. You can see that most everyone there in the room wearing a black ninja suit, they are SpaceX employees, except for this gentleman right here, number 30. That is NASA astronaut.
Countdown, LIO installation is complete on schedule.
That is NASA astronaut Marcos Barrios. He is in the role of astronaut support person. So he is with the crew, both here in the suit up room, but also at the ready, going all the way out to the pad.
Yeah, Marcos will be with them all the way until they crawl in the capsule, and he is the crew office, the astronaut office representative as part of the pad crew. They're just to keep a watchful eye and make sure that anything the crew needs is taken care of, and he's the advocate for the crew all the way to the final steps.
He heard you talking about him, Nick, and gave us a wave.
He's good like that.
And so now the crew is sitting in their recliners, taking a load off. Those recliners, to me, they harken back to the space shuttle days. Remember when those guys were getting ready, they sit in a big recliner and looked like they were kind of relaxing, taking it easy.
Yeah, nice and cozy. I don't know. Maybe I'd be standing up if I was going to be strapped into a chair for the next 3 hours.
We should stand up more from time to time, since we were strapped to these chairs for 6 hours yesterday.
Yeah, it's good to stretch the legs. You can see the chief of the office,
Mhm.
Joe Acaba, there, providing some last words of wisdom, I'm sure.
At Astra, above the exit doors there inside crew quarters. And so, in order to meet Nick's goal of social, we're going to jump right into it. We mentioned earlier we want you to be a part of today's launch coverage, so we're taking questions. And the first one we have is from Annie Gonzalez, who asks, "What did the astronauts eat this morning, Nicholas?"
Yeah, that is a great question, and it's very dependent on the particular astronaut. I actually don't know exactly what this crew ate this morning, but I can tell you that it tends to be a fairly light meal. Something that's pretty hearty and that's going to stick with you. Typically high in protein, just because that fills you up and gives you kind of the longer blast of energy that you're going to need. Because the next time they're going to be able to eat isn't for another 6 to 7 hours. They've suited up here. This takes some time. They're going to go out and strap into the rocket, and then it's going to be several hours before they launch. And then after they launch, from liftoff, maybe 45 minutes after liftoff, until they get out of their suits and have an opportunity to eat. So it's a good 6 to 7 hours that you're going to go before your next meal. So they want something that's going to stick to their bones.
And you had heard what they ate a couple nights before.
Yeah, we get this opportunity to select, our favorite meal, if you will, and the crew, three of them had steak as their penultimate dinner, and one of them had ramen and a corn dog. I'll leave it to the audience to try to figure out which one's which.
Well, you were telling us yesterday that you want to eat food that you're familiar with.
Yeah, you don't want to shock the system. You're
Right.
you're about to adapt to microgravity, and that's a big enough shock. You don't want to change up your diet a couple days before. So my technique was just, let me just continue to eat the breakfasts I normally eat. Let me eat the dinners that I would normally eat. I wasn't trying new foods or trying to cram in all the the things I was going to miss into the last week of dinners. Just try to keep things normal. There's going to be enough stress on the body.
Well, Oleg threw us a heart as he was sitting there, which we appreciate. Mike Fink, meanwhile, looks like been there, done that.
He has.
It's true.
He more than a year in space already, and he's getting to go up there for 6 months. He's a lucky dog.
In preparation for the mission, this crew, of course, like all crews, that we see their mission patches that we're looking at right now, going all the way back to demo 2. Look at that. Demo 2, crew 1, 2, 3. Axiom is in there as well.
Yeah, you can see all of the crewed missions where they did a suit leak check in that chair. And so each of the 4 chairs has a slightly different version. You see that you don't see a crew 9 on there. Alex and I only used 2 of the 4 chairs. So we only zapped the 2 chairs that we were in. But all along the way, little places where you leave your mark of, we were one of the missions, one of the many missions, and definitely not the last mission to come through this facility, whether that's signing the wall in there just outside the crew quarters suit up room, or putting patches there on the suit leak chairs, or even signing the white room wall. You leave your marks along the way.
And they left those marks yesterday during the launch attempt in many places, including on the wall inside the white room. Won't have to do it today. But yesterday also essentially served as yet another dress rehearsal, one that, if you count it with the training, would be a substantial amount of preparation for today's launch. let's look back a little bit at some of their training. Nick, talk us through what we're seeing here with Crew 11's preparation.
Yeah, some of the launch training, a lot of our training is stuff that, what do you do when things go wrong? And so this is an example of some of the search and rescue training that crews will go through, learning how to use their
Their water wings.
Yeah, their water wings, their survival equipment, how to get into their rafts, how to call for help with the search and rescue forces from the Department of Defense, Det-3, that's going to come out there and rescue them should they have to put down in a place where they weren't planned. Additionally, you've got emergency training on the inside of the space station. Obviously, how to do spacewalks, and then when you have a really bad day, we need to be able to provide medical care. And so, how do you provide CPR in space? Not a simple thing to do when you're floating in microgravity.
No, I would imagine not.
It takes.
Don't you have to brace your back against something in order
You
to create
do,
the force?
and depending on the person, you come up with different techniques. So there are straps where you can strap yourself down to the ground. Some people will just put their feet on the ceiling above the person and then just
push straight up.
push straight up,
Wow.
which is down on that person.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever it takes to get it done.
In that moment, whatever it takes.
Right. You had an interesting training, Nick. You trained to be the pilot all the way up until a few months before.
Indeed.
Then you had to switch to commander. What was that like?
It's to make that shift is a little bit challenging because we had to figure out how to, obviously Zena and I had created our own balance of activities, how we divide the responsibilities, and then having to kind of rewicker that in my mind. But a huge team approach to try to figure out, we launched as a crew of 2, what exactly we needed to do differently. And so worked very closely with Zena and Stephanie Wilson and Alex and myself, as well as the entire training team out at SpaceX, and also the training team at Johnson Space Center, to figure out, okay, what do we need to do differently? And so it was a 2-week crash course on how to adjust everything, and it took all of us to figure that out.
Of course, your Crew 9 mission went on to be very successful, lasted a little longer than it was supposed to. It was a 6-month mission, went to 7 months. So you essentially tested out Dragon for a little bit of a longer duration. Today, they will be planning at this moment on a 6-month at the minimum duration mission, but hoping to extend that to 8 months.
And I think crews are today in the mindset, there's been enough, there is no standard length mission these days, and crews go up fully understanding. The families understand as well. There's been enough examples that your mission is going to last as long as it needs to last. And on average, that's somewhere around 6 months, but it may be longer. And there's a lot of factors that drive into that. And the crews, as well as their families, know it's not about them individually. It's about, what does the mission need? What does it require?
And I'm thinking of the advancements that we have made in space flight, when long duration space flights were, thought to be a few weeks or more, right?
Yeah.
And now here we are on the precipice of getting approval for 8-month missions as the standard.
Yeah.
In space.
It's it's progress.
Yeah.
To go from average shuttle durations like 10 days to average missions 6 months, to now it's, we've really figured out how to support the human in low Earth orbit, to be able to keep them up there for a long period of time and keep them healthy.
Zena there getting hooked up to an umbilical that provides some cool air, which is nice when you're in a suit that is completely sealed all the way around, with the exception of the helmet at this moment.
Yeah, it only takes a couple minutes to really start to heat up in those. If you can imagine, you're essentially inside a balloon that's shaped like you, and it can generate some heat. Oh, time for the card game.
It is. This is a tradition that happens before crew can leave the suit up room. And so you've got the chief of the astronaut office, Joe Akaba, there. We did this yesterday. We're going to do it again today. And then, of course, you have the crew on the other side. Every crew does this before they leave. The goal here is for the crew commander, which is Zena Cardman. She's third from the left for the crew members, to lose the card game, lose to the commander. You want her to lose because you want to get rid of bad luck. But yesterday we saw Zena win hand after hand after hand. So we had to go, I think, 7 hands before she lost. But that's what we're waiting for, is for her to lose, right?
Yeah, and we'll see how lucky she is.
Well, that looks like a low card. Okay, so Zena and Oleg are hanging in there again. Okay, so Zena lost. Her bad luck is gone. And now we're just waiting for the mission specialist, Oleg Platonov. And he loses. he loses and they applaud.
Yes, well, you know, time-honored tradition.
Absolutely. And that's the way it works.
All right, fun and games are over. Now it's time to go launch to space.
Let's do it. All right, as we head out of the astronaut crew quarters room, we bring you live to their destination, the temporary destination at least, the launch pad at 39A, where their Falcon 9 rocket stands ready again. For those of you who are just joining us, we do want to let you know about the expertise that we have with us. You've been listening to astronaut Nick Hague, who has been walking us through operations. He walked us through the entire launch attempt yesterday, and he's here for us again today. And you have a storied background, Nick. You joined the astronaut corps in 2013. A native of Kansas, Nick holds degrees in aeronautical and astronautical engineering from the U.S. Air Force Academy and MIT. On his first mission to space in 2018, he survived a launch aboard, a dramatic in-flight failure of his Soyuz rocket over Kazakhstan. He and his crewmate, Alexei Ovchinin, returned safely, and Nick went on to spend 203 days aboard the International Space Station on a follow-up mission in 2019. In 2024, Hague was assigned to NASA's Crew 9 mission and upgraded from pilot to commander when the crew was reduced from 4 to 2. The change enabled integration of NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, who returned to Earth aboard Crew 9 with Nick following the uncrewed landing of Starliner. After a successful mission, the crew splashed down in March off the coast of Tallahassee, bringing Hague's total time in space to 374 days, including 4 spacewalks. That's an impressive resume with, as we learned yesterday, a lot of stories to tell along the way with such variety and adventure. We are listening to a weather brief offline, so we're going to take a moment to listen to that. Okay, so we just heard an update from the launch weather officer on his plans to update the launch team on the weather. And what he told the SpaceX launch director is that they will have a weather brief at L minus 2 hours to assess the weather conditions today. There is concern about the possibility of pop-up cumulus clouds and storm clouds in the area, but the launch team felt good enough at L minus 8 hours today, which was around 3:43 in the morning when they held their first weather briefing of the day to proceed forward. But they are monitoring this closely, Nick.
Yeah, and this is good news, right? This is we feel comfortable enough that we will continue to. We've got an opportunity, we've got a chance, so we'll continue to march down the timeline. As soon as they feel like it's not going to pan out, that they're gonna knock it off and scrub for the day. So this is positive news.
L minus 2 hours will be 9:43 a.m. And so we will listen in again for that update, which is important in this launch flow because 2 hours before gives you plenty of time to discuss and look at the conditions, talk about all the data as you prepare for the moment where you cannot adjust, and that's the beginning of tanking at T minus 35 minutes. Once that kicks off, then you are on your way unless you call a scrub.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's once you start to tank up the rocket, now you've armed the launch escape system, the crew's strapped in, and now you have to undo all that. So there's negative work. So you really don't want to go past that point unless you're hey, reasonably confident that we can get this down to T minus 0 and lift off.
You're looking now at an elevated position from our flight operations team, our Kennedy Space Center helicopter, getting us a good shot outside the operations and checkout building. This is the facility where we saw the astronauts suiting up on the inside. This is where they walk out to their awaiting vehicles. They are 3 Teslas, 1, 2, 3, with the license plates that say live, laugh, launch.
Those are good words.
Especially the last one. There it is.
We got,
That
we got
means
2 of the 3 yesterday.
we did. We did. We did. But it begs the question, Nick, where did the love go?
Oh, it's still there. You see him with the heart hand in the hand signals. So there's plenty of love.
Plenty of love going around. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I saw it yesterday. That's Zena's favorite move. She throws out the hearts, and boy, she's an astronaut with a lot of it.
Yeah, so they're anxiously awaiting the team, getting ready to walk down the hallway and mentally start to make that shift of, okay, we have, the train is starting to leave the station, and we're headed to the pad.
As we look at this license plate, let's review the past 10. Well, look at there. One of my favorites is Later Earth with the 8 in there from Crew 1. I like Blast Off with Crew 5, using the 5 as an S. You have Bye, Crew 7.
I don't think you held that long enough.
I did. Bye.
There you go.
7 letters. It's funny. Jessica Beer said the same thing. Daryl, you didn't hold that long enough. From her, I kind of get it. From you, that surprised me. And hey, there's yours. You were ready for it.
Ready for it.
And you had to be ready for it, man. You were dodging a hurricane and all kinds of stuff was going on with your mission.
Every mission's unique. Every crew is ready for it.
It's true.
There's a huge team on the ground making sure that we are.
Yes. I'm going to stand up, Nick, to kind of stretch out.
Okay, don't hit your head on the ceiling.
I know. We're not on camera, so it's not a problem. If I do, just cover me if I hit the deck.
I got you.
Appreciate that. There's a look outside. The family and friends are gathering now, as they did yesterday. And you've been on a second launch attempt, albeit with very different circumstances surrounding it. But when you do it again, hey, this is a chance to say goodbye again.
Yeah, it's this weird mix of feelings because you've said goodbye yesterday and now you're going to say goodbye again. But you also want to take that opportunity because this is the goodbye, and the next time you're going to see your family is months from now. So it's still a special time.
We're listening into loops right now, listening to the launch team as we look at the hallway where the astronauts will walk down. All right, nothing to note on the loops. Just taking care of launch business. T-minus 3 hours and 27 minutes and counting. If you're just joining us, you are watching live coverage of the launch of Crew 11 by NASA and SpaceX to the International Space Station. Our T0 today is 11:43 a.m. Eastern Time. We have an instantaneous window, which means we've got to hit it right at that second. The seconds today are 42 seconds after the 43 mark. That's important because the weather at that time must be good for launch when we go. And of course, we're monitoring that as we get ready to watch the astronauts exit astronaut crew quarters, where they've been for the past week, and get into their Teslas for the second time in as many days to drive out to the launch pad. Were you able to find out anything about what the astronauts did while they were hanging out the past 24 hours?
I traded a couple messages back and forth. Obviously, when they got back to the crew quarters, it was straight into a debrief, because that's what you do with operations. You perform them, then you debrief them, because even yesterday you can learn things about the operations. And so they got the update on the weather and what caused the scrub, and then we're able to get some quiet time and get recharged, and have an opportunity to connect back with families again.
Good. I needed a little time to recharge yesterday, Nick, after that 6 hour.
I tell you what, Daryl, you exhausted me. I was asleep by 5 o'clock.
Well, it was a long 6 hours, and we counted down from starting at T-minus 4 hours and 10 minutes, and we went all the way to just before T0, just a minute before. And then, of course, we documented the astronauts' journey as they detanked the rocket, egressed the capsule, and made their way back to astronaut crew quarters.
All right, here they come.
Here we go again. Crew 11 walking the hallway. Zena Cardman, Mike Fincke, Oleg Platonov, Kimiya Yui, ready to do it again. Into the elevator they go. getting ready to begin their journey to the launch pad. Big waves from the crew. And Kimiya, his wave interrupted the elevator. And a salute from Mike Fincke. Next time we see them, they will be walking out those doors.
So one thing that hasn't changed from yesterday to today, as you can see, the energy and the excitement, it's still there.
You're so right. Because after all, at the end of the day, it's another attempt to try to go to space. And that is just.
Yeah. And as a crew, you're in the mindset, we're going. There's no question about it. And yes, the ground crew is going to make their calls and make sure that everything's safe. And just like yesterday, they may step in and say, hey, we can't. But from a mindset perspective, the crew is going. And so they're leaning forward and ready to go.
Great knowledge and insight from our astronaut co-host, Nick Hague, a brigadier general with the Space Force and a NASA astronaut. We're talking traditions and mindset. Let's talk about one of the many. Here's another one, the signing of the mission patch. There's Zena Cardman. This was a couple days ago. This is a tradition where they slap yet another mission patch on the wall. This one's great, though. Look at Kimiya. Look what he does. Zing! Off we go. Or was that Oleg?
Yeah, that's Oleg.
Oleg
Yeah.
was the one that did that.
It's got some flair.
Yeah, that's some pizzazz.
And these little things it connects you to the legacy of our human spaceflight program. And so it's very important from a crew perspective to feel connected to that, that you're one small piece of that larger picture.
That's right. And a legacy that goes back to the 1950s here on the Space Coast. Families are there. You can see them, family, friends, and loved ones, as well as special guests. The doors open up, which means we're going to see the crew shortly. But they're behind stanchions, and that's for a reason, Nick.
Yeah, quarantine is so important. Making sure that we can keep the crew healthy. They've been in quarantine for the past 2 weeks. And we preserve that all the way up to the point of them getting in the capsule. And so you see those stanchions providing that separation to keep that safe distance so that nobody ends up getting inadvertently sick.
And we focus on the doors now here at crew quarters. And here they come. Crew 11 walking outside for the final time before launch in hopes of starting a mission years in the making. Nick is waving. You can't see him, but he was literally waving at the screen.
How can you not?
Our crew today, Commander Zena Cardman, pilot Michael Fincke, JAXA astronaut Kimiya Yui, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov. I corrected my pronunciation yesterday, and I slipped back into Americanizing.
Crew walkout has commenced on schedule.
Everything on schedule.
So this is the last chance to say goodbye to family, and once crew gets in the cars, they'll be able to roll down the window and say the last few words. But friends and family, spouses, children, I'm going to see you in 6 months, maybe 8.
Coronaut countdown. Advanced team is complete with preps and ready for crew arrival. On schedule.
So we've gotten the word that the crew can pull out from their location. This looks like you can have even a little conversation at this point.
Yeah, last little, these are the things I forgot to do at the house that I need to remind you about. No, it's a chance to say those last few words. For me, those words always fail to fully express the emotion that you have in the moment. You're excited to go, but you're also a little sad to know that you're going to be separated from friends and family for that long.
And you know what they're feeling as well, which is, family is in a different position.
Yeah, they're bystanders and they get to watch this, which is definitely a different perspective than being in the seat and in the middle of the operations. It can be stressful, but NASA does an amazing job of providing extended support to the families to help them, especially through stressful times like a launch.
There go the doors.
I saw another heart sign.
We should have counted. So you see 3 Teslas there. The first Tesla has the closeout lead and 2 suit technicians. The second Tesla has the commander and pilot, along with a flight surgeon. And the third Tesla in the back that you see there has the second closeout lead and other support staff, along with the 2 mission specialists. And here's that moment you were talking about, Nick. Well, it's just natural to want to lean in a little bit, isn't it?
It is. The quarantine, the window's down and you want to just reach through and give them a hug, and you can't.
Right. Well, they're queuing up the playlist, songs that they will listen to on that 20-minute journey. I see Jessica Watkins from the astronaut office, fellow astronaut. They're taking some pictures. She's in the blue flight suit on the left.
Yep, and we've got astronauts assigned to each of the families to provide them that support, and it means a lot for the crew member that's launching to know that you've got one of your colleagues, one of your friends that's there to take care of the people you hold most dear.
Note. Well, there's Zena giving a last wave with the window down.
There's lots of mixed emotions when you're launching, and this is one of those moments where it's lots of smiles and energy, but there's also teary eyes.
Right. All right, to big cheers, the crew is pulling out. Crew 11 on the road to launch pad 39A. Let's take a moment now to hear in their own words from each of the crew members, and we begin with the commander, Zena Cardman, as she shares her path from field science to spaceflight.
I think in a lot of ways, science and exploration is just innate to us as human beings. That's why toddlers ask so many why questions. It's just part of who we are. In many ways, I think trying to explore space generates solutions to problems that we didn't even know we had.
My name is Zena Cardman, and I am the commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station.
I was born in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, but grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia. I grew up almost like an only child. I have two older brothers, but the younger of the two actually went off to college when I was 5 years old. And so I learned to play in my backyard a lot, play with friends, use my imagination, and explore the natural world around me. I studied biology as an undergraduate student. This is largely because I had a really excellent high school biology teacher who inspired me to pursue research on my own, even as a high school student. But while I was at college, I also got to know microbiology. I got to know geosciences and chemistry. I wound up doing a lot of research in an oceanography marine sciences department and studying in remote locations like Antarctica. I also, while I was an undergraduate, became a creative writing minor, and I've always really valued that chance to study the creative side of my brain and explore our natural world through that side as well. I love being an astronaut right now because there are many pathways to get to the International Space Station. We spend long duration periods, so many months long, living and working on board that space station, and it's really focused on research. A lot of that research is on our home planet, and a lot of that research is on us as human subjects. I'm very excited to be actually a test subject for a lot of the medical research that we're doing on board the ISS. I've signed up for a very large, all-encompassing medical study called CYPHER, and this, I think, is going to be critical as we start thinking about going for longer durations and farther places like the moon and Mars. My role as commander is to bring out the best in my crewmates from the moment we start training till the moment we get back to Earth and then some. And so I'm always thinking about that larger mission overview and how my crewmates are doing and what we can do for each other. Spaceflight, by definition, requires collaboration and requires more than one person. And the chance to be part of something much larger than myself has been humbling and inspiring and deeply fulfilling. Even since I was a child, looking up at the stars, looking up at the cosmos is inspiring. It helps me answer questions like, what are we doing here? Who are we? Where are we? I don't think we grow if we don't challenge ourselves. I think that's true for myself, it's true for teams, and it's true for us as a society and as a species. We have to take some risks, we have to challenge ourselves in order to push ourselves, and I can't wait to see what we discover during my career and for generations to come.
Next up, astronaut Michael Fincke. Next up, astronaut Michael Fincke, a veteran of 3 missions and 4 spacewalks, as he reflects on what keeps him coming back to space.
Human beings, part of our nature, part of who we are, our identity is explorers. Because every time we explore, we improve our lives and our situations. It's just natural. My name is Mike Fincke, and I'm the pilot for NASA's SpaceX Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of the mighty Steelers, and it was a great time to grow up, lots of great educational opportunities, a time that was tough economically, but a place where we knew that dreams could come true. When I was like 2 and 3 years old, my parents would wake me up from whatever nap I was taking to watch moon landings. We did many moon landings back in the late 60s and early 70s, and that made a big impression on me. So I knew that back then, even when I was like 3, that I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to go walk on the moon. I wanted to go explore space. So I learned to read so I could read more about space. And the more I read, the more excited I became. When I was in high school, I didn't know what engineering was. I knew what math and science were, physics. I was kind of good at that. Math. I took a leap of faith and went to an engineering program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. Thankfully paid for by an Air Force ROTC scholarship, and then hustling with side gigs on the weekends. And I got to study airplanes and rockets, 2 of my favorite things. So I was able to graduate from MIT with 2 degrees, and then the summer after graduation, I had a really wonderful opportunity to study in Soviet Union. Fortunately, I'd studied Russian language, so I knew enough Russian to go with some colleagues, and we spent the summer at Moscow Aviation Institute studying cosmonautics. And then I spent the next year at Stanford University getting a master's in aeronautics and astronautics. I love the space station. I helped build it. I helped the first modules get ready here on planet Earth, and have had the joy of living aboard the space station for 2 long-duration missions so far. We've learned from the International Space Station that space is a great place to really understand more about the universe. When we are aboard the International Space Station, we're still gravitationally connected to planet Earth, but we're free falling. So like we're in microgravity. So you take that big G out of the equation, and then you can find out what's really going on physically. We're also outside the atmosphere, so we can look to the universe beyond us without atmospheric interference. When I'm on a spacewalk, I can look out to the whole universe and I can see how small our planet is and how big and wonderful the rest of the universe is. And it's calling to us. We need to explore and go see the whole universe that's out there. Space exploration is something that really speaks to me as a person, right? We all kind of have our passions. And for me, since I was like 2 or 3 years old, I wanted to go to space, explore space. And I've had the chance to do that. Half my life I've been an astronaut. I've really, really enjoyed exploring space.
Great words from Spanky, his call sign for Mike Fincke. And as we follow the 3 vehicles with security escort, we reveal a beautiful view of the vehicle assembly building. Iconic here at the Kennedy Space Center, where work is underway to stack the rocket inside. We're stacking the rocket and the spacecraft for Artemis II, NASA's first crewed mission to the moon in more than 50 years. 4 astronauts will launch around the moon as part of the Artemis campaign, a major step towards a sustained human presence on the lunar surface and a future journey to Mars. Zipping by, 4 astronauts go into low Earth orbit, looking at a gigantic building that holds inside of it a moon rocket, and as well as the next generation launch tower that you see out there, ML2. All right, let's hear now from JAXA astronaut Kimiya Yui on the returning to station, representing Japan, and what this mission means to him.
I think humankind has a desire to explore and also expand our area of activities. Space is a great place to explore because Earth is so small. We still have unknown places, but Earth is generally speaking so small compared with space. My name is Kimiya Yui. I'm a mission specialist for NASA's SpaceX Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station. I was born in very, very small village in Nagano Prefecture. So up there, I was able to see very, very beautiful stars in night skies. When I was a little boy, I did stargazing and I loved stars. I really want to know everything on our universe and I want to go everywhere as long as I live. When I was already like 10 years old, I already wanted to become an astronaut or astronaut. I graduated from the National Defense Academy, and after that, I entered Japanese Air Force, Japan Air Self-Defense Force, then become a fighter pilot, then test pilot, and then became an astronaut. We do science in space because we have constant microgravity in the ISS. We cannot achieve that condition on the Earth. Space station actually can produce new materials or medicines in order to make our future brighter. Going to Moon or Mars is very difficult, so we need to test our materials, and ISS is a great test bed. So Crew 11, we are going to have a lot of experiments on ISS, and JAXA especially, we are going to have new cargo vehicle, HTV-AX. The vehicle itself is a little bit lighter, but we can carry more stuff to the ISS. 10 years ago, I went to space for the first time. It's changed a lot. And for astronauts, it became much more convenient to live. For example, we didn't have a good place for cooking. Now we have gallery. I was able to see a lot of stars and also beautiful Earth or moon. This mission inspired me, and I really want to pass that actually inspiration to other people on the ground. ISS is one of the best examples to have a dream and work together and make the dream come true. So if you see ISS in the night sky, please think about your dream, about how to make your dream come true.
And finally, Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov, sharing his thoughts as he prepares for his very first flight to space.
Бесконечный космос открывает бесконечные возможности для человечества, поэтому есть необходимость осваивать Солнечную систему, осваивать просторы за пределами Солнечной системы. А для того, чтобы это сделать в будущем, мы должны закладывать эту базу. My name is Oleg Platonov, and I am a mission specialist for NASA SpaceX Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station. Я родился в большом индустриальном городе в России, в городе Челябинске. Это моя родина. Я занимался в патриотических кружках, связанных с авиацией и космонавтикой, поэтому уже в мое детство я задумывался о космосе. У меня много целей в этом полете. Прежде всего, я хочу полететь на мощной огромной ракете в космос, долететь до Международной космической станции, сесть возле большого иллюминатора на станции, посмотреть на нашу красавицу Землю, и это будет вдохновлять меня работать все лучше и лучше. Мы можем получать новые данные о нашей Земле, о Солнечной системе, о космических лучах, о нашей Вселенной, о жизни микроорганизмов в космосе, о здоровье человека, о получении новых лекарств, о путях улучшения конструктивных материалов и так внутренняя потребность человека исследовать все, что находится вокруг него. Хочется узнать все новое, новое и новое, расширяя горизонты своего знания, что границы открыты, что мы можем летать в космос, что мы можем лететь дальше, все дальше и дальше, за пределы нашей Земли, за пределы Солнечной системы. И это будет вдохновлять уже не только нас, но и не предыдущие, а следующие поколения.
And that wraps up, in their own words, Crew 11, as they arrive at the pad for their launch attempt today. Launch pad 39A, and a beautiful shot there provided by the flight operations team here at the Kennedy Space Center. Those helicopters orbiting the pad, keeping the area secure with a lookout, as well as carrying one of our cameras to give us some spectacular views. From this view, the weather looks fantastic, but it is very much a watch item for later. We are T-minus 3 hours and 1 minute and counting. And while all looks fine now, we want to take a look at the weather forecast for launch time. Currently, we set with a probability of go at 60%. Winds are light, 10 miles per hour out of the west. Temperature is a roasty, toasty 87 degrees expected for today at launch time. The concern is cumulus cloud rule along with surface electric fields rule, which together basically tell you pop-up storms, pop-up thunderstorms at the time of T0, currently scheduled for 11:43 a.m. Eastern time. The sea breeze, as it does this time of year and as it is forecast to do today, will creep over land, and the convective activity with the warm air will percolate some cumulus clouds and potential storm clouds around the pad. We saw this yesterday as we were standing out there for the launch attempt. The hope is that those will percolate not too close to the coast, but it became more of a watch item today than it was for yesterday because of exactly the formula that played out, in addition to the fact that today we have additional moisture in the atmosphere. We're also watching the weather along the ascent corridor. We've got a low pressure system that's moving off the coast of the eastern seaboard. It's well north of the staging area, but we could have some storms in that earlier or afterwards. So that is also a watch item. This, of course, is an area where if Dragon were to need to abort off the rocket and splash down, they want to have good conditions weather-wise in order to land in the ocean.
Yeah, you've got to watch. It's not just the weather at launch, it's the weather all along the launch corridor. And it's a really complex process. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And it's almost an impossible task for the weathermen to figure it out in advance. So we just continue to watch and take it down to the real-time call of are we ready to go or not.
The launch weather officers, very capable bunch. They do their best. But like you say, weather is so unpredictable here in Florida that it's hard to get it exactly 100% right. But we use the tools we have and the data that we see, and we'll take it from there. Let's get a social question in that have been queuing up. MPOV23 asks, we are watching the live stream, and my 10-year-old daughter, Zoe, asked, what do you do to keep entertained, busy while in space for so long?
Yeah, that's a great question, Zoe. It's one of those things where everybody's a little bit different. Some people read books. Some people will watch a favorite TV show or a movie, or will sit around, every Friday evening after the long work week, we would get together and have dinner and share music and just talk. But without doubt, something that everybody does is go to the window and look out the window at the earth down below and just soak it in, because it is such an amazing view. You can see almost coast to coast of the United States as you fly over. So you see so much, and you almost start to lose the ability to see the impacts of humans, and you see the mountains and you see the oceans and lakes and deserts, and you start to appreciate just how connected everything is on Earth. And then when you get on the other side of the world, you're in the dark, and then the stars all come out, and you can see the universe just kind of unfold in front of you. And there's so many stars that you can't see that many stars from the ground, and it's just so impressive. You can spend hours.
I can only imagine. And it all in 90 minutes, right? As you zip around the planet.
16 times a day.
Well, there is our commander and our pilot, Mike Fincke and Zena Cardman, looking up at their rocket.
Big hugs. And so Zena must have listened to your commentary yesterday, Daryl, because she was leaning back farther than Mike was today.
I noticed that. I was going to say so. I was like, wait, Mike Fincke has the upgraded suit. He is the only one of the crew to wear the version 2, V2, R2, which is an upgraded suit that SpaceX is providing. In the elevator they go from the ground floor up to the 275-foot level. This is a great shot. They were just there looking up at their rocket. This gives you a sense of scale,
which is so hard to get in the space industry.
Yes.
You see these pictures of the rocket and launch pad from a long ways away, and without a person standing there, you start to forget that these are small buildings we're launching into space.
Yes, that's right. That was a great shot to lay that imagery out, right? We saw them close up in the elevators, and then we widened out to the rocket. It really gives you a sense of scale. Great work by the production team there. All right, they get to the elevator. They have one more set of stairs to climb before they get up to the crew access arm. Well, Zena has some hugs for the closeout crew.
Yeah, last little, thank yous for all the work yesterday and today, and getting ready to walk out the arm and get strapped in. Today's the day.
A nice gaze out across the spaceport. You
It
can
is-
see everything. huh?
It's an unbelievable view. It's so scenic.
And here comes Mike and Zena. Hearts and thumbs up with big waves, getting ready to get inside Dragon Endeavor. Was that a dab?
You said he was a jokester. He's having a good time.
And so put a hand where they signed the meatball,
More on
the
countdown.
NASA
Crews
logo.
have reached the White Room on schedule.
Because this is the second launch attempt, they will not have to sign their names along the NASA logo that you see there on the wall. They did that yesterday. So Zena just put her hand on it, gave it a touch, and they'll go straight into making sure their suit is clean and there's no FOD before they get into the Dragon Endeavor, their spacecraft that will take them on a journey to the International Space Station, 260 miles above the surface of the Earth. Talk about Mike's spacesuit. This is V2, version 2, but they call it R2. His is different than the one Zena is wearing. As we split screen to catch the mission specialist doing their poses, looking up. Striking a pose.
They're choreographed. They get higher marks than Spanky and Zena.
You're listening to our posing judge, General Nick Hague, an astronaut here at NASA, and also Brigadier General with the U.S. Space Force. In goes the commander, and now we await the pilot. But his suit is different as he pulls up the front of it. It is more configurable. You can adjust the sizing on it much better than you can the first version. This one has zippers that zip around the circumference of the individual rather than a long zipper that goes along the inseam. With that one that you suited up in, Nick, you get into it kind of like you would a onesie, but this one, you get into it the way we got into our clothes today. You're wearing a flight suit, I'm not, but get into your pants, put on your shirt, and then zip around. And just like your luggage, which has that zipper to expand it when you've bought too many, tourist stuff on your trip, you can unzip it to expand or zip it to shrink it, which gives them greater flexibility with these suits. They can fit them on more people and have to make fewer custom suits for the astronauts.
Yeah, suit fit can be a really finicky thing, and there's a lot of effort that's been spent with the first version of the suit, trying to make sure that every crew member gets a suit that fits. With this new one, there's a lot more adaptability and a little bit more forgiveness in the suit. It's one of those things that's really important. Normally, these suits are never pressurized except during leak checks, but in the event of an emergency, they may need to pressurize, and if they don't pressurize in the right shape, it can lead to injury of the crew member.
And here come our mission specialists right behind him, Oleg and Kimiya. Flashing signs of Crew 11 with their two fingers extended upwards. They are ready to go. You know what I love about the view you were talking about it earlier that we can see out the windows there is that with the exception of, the occasional launch pad and building and stuff, this is a pristine wildlife refuge that just goes on and on and on. So it's natural Florida the way it was before, you know, it became populated.
Yeah, and it's that contrast, that stark contrast
Yes.
of nature and then this technology, like the most sophisticated thing that humanity can do, plopped right down in the middle of it, and that juxtaposition is just it's eye catching.
Get comfortable, Mike.
You're going
As
to be
he
here a
shimmies
while.
around in his seat.
Well, you want to make sure those straps are tight. Yeah, so you can see you know, the pad crew strapping them in inside, but then also outside. Some of the things that you wear on the way to the launch pad are there to protect you from getting FOD in the suits, or, you know, debris in the suit. So there's a cover that goes on the umbilical port on the leg. There's some covers that go on the bottoms of the boots. Once you get to the white room, you take all that stuff off because it's clean at that point, and you're ready to get inside. And then you'll see them strap in inside, as well as here in a little bit start to hand them their you know, personal gear, which is that satchel that they're going to put on their left thigh.
If you joined us recently, you're watching NASA and SpaceX's coverage of the launch of Crew 11 to the International Space Station. Our T0 set for 11:43 a.m. Eastern Time. We are counting down, currently T-minus 2 hours and 47 minutes. We have the commander and the pilot seated in their positions. And we just saw the two mission specialists go into the capsule, and they are getting into their seats. NASA astronaut Nick Hague is here helping us document Crew 11's journey into orbit. In our split screen, we are inside and outside of the spacecraft. We're also taking your questions, so please send them in. #AskNASA. Nick has given us the goal of getting as many questions answered as we can, so let's fire up another one.
Only 2 so far. Let's get
move.
out. There we go.
All right. Felivi asks, what's your favorite movie that revolves around space themes?
I love sci-fi movies. And so it's really hard for, you know, I grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars and Doctor Who and all of that stuff. So I devour that stuff. So favorite space movie is probably the first one I watched, which was the original Star Wars.
Yep.
But you name it, I love it. They all get some aspect of space just so right, and they get other aspects wrong. and I can tend to look past the things that they get wrong.
Lightsabers aren't something you think that
not yet.
Not yet.
But sound in space won't ever be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the same for me. Star Wars. Not that I'm being asked, but I'm with you. That movie, when it came out, just
seems like there's so many movies these days that have space. There's so much space content in popular culture. You can sense the excitement around, you know, the space program and our ambitions to go back to the moon and beyond.
No, you're absolutely right. Far more space movies come out today than they did when we were kids.
Yeah.
All right, Crew 11 now completely seated. This is their lineup from left to right. We have Oleg Platonov, Mike Fincke, Commander Zena Cardman, and Kimiya Yui. Let's do another question because we've got them coming in, and thank you folks for sending them. Bennett asks, how do crew from different space agencies come together to train for a mission like this? And in this particular mission, you have the United States, of course, you have Japan, and you have Russia. So those are faraway places.
They are, but the world is small, and the way we train is we train together. And so part of the job of an astronaut is traveling to different training locations. On the International Space Station, you have different modules. You've got a US laboratory, a European Space Agency laboratory, a Japanese laboratory. You've got the Russian segment in their laboratory. Each of those laboratory training facilities is in their respective countries. And so we travel to those locations in order to train. So you get to train with your crewmates and you get to know them very well, but you also get to be trained by those training teams in those countries. And so a really special aspect of the space program is getting to know and appreciate the cultures and the people in Japan or in Europe or Russia or Canada or wherever you're training. You get to really meet and spend time with those training teams and understand that those people have dedicated their lives to the space program in such a profound way, and they're getting you ready to go do the impossible. All said, it's about 2 years of traveling around training specifically for the mission that you're assigned to. And so in that process, this crew has spent a lot of time together. They know each other to the point where you know what that person's thinking, you know what you're able to finish their sentences for them. You've really bonded together, and that's what makes a successful crew.
Especially in a moment where you need it, being able to move quickly and communicate effectively and efficiently, I'm sure is critically important.
Absolutely. You don't know what the future holds, and so you prepare, and those relationships, that bond, that ability to work together is what you're going to draw on when you need it most.
Great question. Let's do another one. We're rolling. Keep them coming, folks. Hashtag Ask NASA if you're wondering how to get it into us. We are on the platforms Facebook, Twitter, X, and YouTube. Robert asks, has your concept of quote unquote home changed since being in orbit? What goes through your mind while looking down at Earth?
There are so many thoughts that go through your mind as you're gazing down on Earth from space. I touched on it a little bit earlier, just this sense that, when I wanted to see the continent of North America, I'd pull out a map, and the map always has lines and borders on it. I've had the opportunity to see the continent with my own eyes, and it didn't have any of those borders. And so you feel this sense of connectedness. And I think that does impact your sense of home. My first flights launched out of Kazakhstan, and they landed in Kazakhstan. And when I landed and got out of the capsule, it call home, call the family, and it's like, I'm home. And I was on the other side of the globe from my home, but I was home.
That's interesting.
And so you definitely start to feel this sense of connectedness to the whole world, and not just the location where you're from.
Planet Earth is your home. After you've been in space and had your life supported by a machine, a very well-operated machine, for 7 months, you come back and touch ground. It's fascinating to hear you say that you landed in Russia and you were home.
Yep.
Because you were back on the planet.
Just back on the planet.
Well, these 4 crew members are preparing as we've been watching them get ready for launch. The in the immediate future, they're getting ready for hatch closure. So the closeout crew that you see there is getting those final touches in place, preparing the crew with everything they need before they leave the capsule, because after all, they are strapped in, won't be able to move around. So any final placement of items or support equipment that they need, they're taking care of that right now.
Yeah, there's lots of gear that you end up with on you once you're strapped in that you didn't have on you as you were heading out to the launch pad. Probably the easiest thing to see in the view is the satchel that's on their left thigh. You know, it's a knee board so that they have a place to write and take critical notes.
Dragon, ready for comm checks.
Copy, ready for comm checks. We are configured for umbilical comm checks. So seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, seat 4, comm check.
Seat 1, loud and clear.
2, loud and clear.
Seat 3, loud and clear.
Seat 4, loud and clear.
Core, all were loud and clear. Umbilical comm. Check is complete.
The core, which is the crew operations resource engineer that communicates with all 4 crew members. And so they went through and we heard from each astronaut, verify that they can communicate with the core. That's the first set of communication checks. We'll get another set, a much longer set later, as communication checks are established with the launch team at T-minus 2 hours and 19 minutes. We are running ahead of time because those normally happen at T-minus 2 hours and 30 minutes, but we're 7 minutes ahead. That's kind of understandable given this is the second time in 2 days that they've run through this procedure. So you can really tell they've got it down.
Yeah, no, practice makes perfect. There's also margin built in as well. And, you know, yesterday as we were leaving, we were a little bit delayed with the pad. And so they slowed their approach to the launch pad with the crew to accommodate that. And then SpaceX made up that time and we got back on track. And so that's important to note that as, you know, you still have 2.5 hours to launch, there are built-in margins that we create the opportunities to address any issues that pop up. So far, everything's been going great.
Yeah, so today they could just zip right out to the pad, and it felt like that's what they did. They got out there pretty quick.
If everything works great, you end up with long pauses and boredom.
A sign that everything is going well. You're bored.
No, but those comm checks, those were focused on making sure that those suits connect to the vehicle, and so that was focused on the crew. The next set's going to be really focused on the connections between the vehicle and the ground teams. They're saying their final goodbyes to the closeout team. The closeout team's doing its last checks. You can see they've got all their gear, their knee boards, the satchels, their you know, personal gear that's inside there that they'll use once they're in free flight, like a headlamp, a flashlight when it gets dark. Everything's ready.
Throwing their hearts at the closeout crew as the closeout crew exits the spacecraft. And as they do that and begin to prepare that side hatch to seal into place, one last look, our camera person getting a good view over the shoulders of the crew and into the capsule. That's a really special shot right there.
Copy, Dragon. We will report when initiating.
And so here they're going to rotate seats here shortly, put them into the launch configuration. The next time those seats will rotate down, per the plan, is just after re-entry, once you come off peak G, getting ready for shoot deploy.
Dragon, SpaceX, initiating seat rotation.
Copy.
And there go the seats, articulating upwards, putting the crew in launch position. Get a view below their feet as well.
Yeah, you can see all the
Some of that
supplies.
cargo, yeah.
You've got cargo on the right-hand side, some coolers, experiment lockers in the middle, and then you can see the left container on the left-hand side. That's your survival raft if you would need it. It'll deploy. We saw a video of that earlier.
Dragon SpaceX.
All right,
Seats are in the
out
launch position.
of the spacecraft we go. Great work by our camera person there, up on the launch tower.
Dragon, you have a go for section 2, suit leak check preparation.
And a look at their signatures from yesterday.
Copies, go for
When they
section
signed
2.
it, I see Oleg's.
Yeah. It is unique.
As the astronauts are seated into their positions here inside Crew 11 and the spacecraft Endeavour, we want to revisit your missions, all 3 of them, Nick, that you participated in. And we have some photos to kind of take us through that. This is something that the astronauts think about all the time. All of you think about when you get ready to launch. You never know what's going to happen. And that was the case on this day in 2018 when you launched from Kazakhstan.
Yeah, so we were at the Baikonur Cosmodrome launching on MS-10.
Dragon pair complete. Ready for leak check.
Copy, Dragon. You have a go for section 3, suit leak check.
Go section 3, suit leak check.
Yet another check of the suits to make sure that they're working. They're important equipment. This picture is taken as we're getting ready to go up the launch tower to get on the elevator to ride to the top of the Soyuz rocket. And yeah, you know, our preparation is focused. 95% of our training is training for what to do when things go wrong, hoping that you're not going to ever need to use that training. Training for everything to go right is actually pretty boring training. And so this is an instance of, you know, you don't know what life is going to throw at you, and definitely on the first launch, we had a curveball. It was a beautiful day, not unlike today. You know, a fall day launching off the same launch pad that Yuri Gagarin launched off of, and 2 minutes into the flight, that's when staging occurs for the Soyuz, and for the Soyuz rocket, the little external boosters on the lower half of the rocket are empty at that point, and then they gently separate and then propel themselves away. But on that day, one of them failed to propel itself away, and when you're 30 miles up going 4,000 miles an hour, the slipstream of the wind is strong enough that it forced that empty tank to impale the center of the rocket, and it disintegrated. In that instant, because everything happens fast when you're going that fast, the launch escape system pulled us to safety. And so this is a still shot of that moment. You know, it was kind of a violent side-to-side shaking. The alarm is sounding. You can hear it. You can see the alarm flashing in front of you. There's a light that comes on the console that, you know, says rocket emergency, and then you spend a second or so trying to figure out exactly what happens as you're slowly tumbling, continuing to coast toward space because we were going so fast. And so we coast all the way up out of that debris field up to about 90 kilometers.
You made it to space.
Yeah, depending on who you ask.
Okay.
Though
was it 62 miles is the Kármán line? I don't know what the conversion is for the kilometers.
Yeah, so they use 100 kilometers is the international standard. The military uses 50 miles. That leaves this gray area, and as far as I'm concerned, I walked away alive, so that it didn't matter.
Amen.
And so that launch escape system automatically sensed that there was something wrong and pulled us to safety. And so we landed. The flight was 20 minutes. Pararescue forces were there to pull us out, and within 6 hours, we were coming down at the airport, walking off the jet, able to embrace family. And you can see I'm giving Katie a hug, and
that's your wife.
That's my wife, and Alexei's there with his wife Svetlana, and our extended family is all there as well, and it's that sense of disappointment that it didn't work out, but also that sense of
Dragon, boarded, we checked.
Copy, Dragon. We see the same. Closeout team will perform final closeout steps and exit the capsule. You can proceed to section 4, side hatch close, and report when ready to close the hatch.
In section 4 and will go.
That's excellent news.
Yes.
Good suits. And, but at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Regardless of whether it's a successful abort or a successful mission, at the end of the day, it's about getting back to family.
And you did that day. The launch escape system worked as it was supposed to, and it brought you back to your family, along with your cosmonauts, who was your fellow crew member, to his family as well. And that's why you train the way you do, is for moments like that. And it underscores the importance of safety, because this is a risky endeavor.
It is. And, the crew members take that risk. The families take that risk right there with them. That's why we train. That's, we talked about the
SpaceX Dragon, crew are ready for side hatch closure.
Copy, crew ready for side hatch closure.
We talked about that before, that international aspect training as a crew, during the abort, Alexei and I didn't have to communicate directly to each other.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
SpaceX Dragon, loud and clear.
Core, loud and clear. Tetris comm check is complete. Stand by for comm checks with DC, MD, and LD in the launch configuration.
All right, we have a long series of comm checks that we'll listen into here.
Dragon, DC on countdown 1, comm check.
DC Dragon, loud and clear.
DC loud and clear. Stand by for comm checks with MD.
Dragon, MD on countdown 1, comm check.
MD Dragon, loud and clear.
MD has you loud and clear. Stand by for comm check over Dragon to ground. Dragon, MD on Dragon to ground, comm check.
MD Dragon, loud and clear.
And I've got you the same. Stand by for comm checks with LD.
Dragon, LD on countdown 1 with a comm check.
LD Dragon, loud and clear.
LD loud and clear. Stand by for comm check over Dragon to ground. Dragon, LD on Dragon to ground with a comm check.
LD Dragon, loud and clear.
LD loud and clear.
Dragon, SpaceX, launch configuration comm checks are complete.
All right, we're through those comm checks, which we got to be able to check the path through the ground, through the air, and they all sound good. back to what we were talking about as we continue now to your next mission, which is MS-12, and that is, this was just 5 months later, you went to fly again, and we should mention that part of that decision to fly again and jump right back in on a Soyuz rocket is just how successful the Soyuz program has been. You had no problem getting right back on that spacecraft and that rocket and launching into space, because that is a highly reliable spacecraft, has been for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we do, this whole idea of being launched into space is predicated on the trust and faith in the teams that are creating that reliability, into the engineering that goes into the system, into every little detail, and all the redundancies in the design, so that when there is something that occurs, the backup's there. And so the launch escape system that rescued us on that day hadn't been used before, but it worked when it was needed. And that's so symbolic of the space program. There are so many things that are in place, and when they're called into action, they work because of the dedication from every person on this gigantic global team. And so you're ready to get back into it. And so 5 months later, it's Alexei and I plus Christina, who is getting ready to go up for a year-long mission, and we had a beautiful, pristine launch to the International Space Station. Nighttime launch this time, though. So, when you get a twofer, it's nice to get a day launch and a nighttime launch. But and there was so much buildup in terms of getting to the space station, but the real mission is on the space station. It's doing the science. It's the 200 plus days that follow the 6 hours getting there, that you're up there doing scientific research and keeping the laboratory running and upgrading its capabilities. That's why we launch. The launch is thrilling, and it's an exciting part of the mission, but it isn't the mission.
Well said, Dick. And you returned home from a successful mission aboard the International Space Station, and you can certainly tell that you were in space for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you guys picked a great photo of me with a grimace on my face. You couldn't find anything better. I actually had an amazing time up there.
Yeah.
But when you come back, gravity is painful.
Yeah,
And
the
adjustment back, you haven't had to lift anything for 7 months, and then you come back, and so the first few days of readaptation are challenging.
What are you saying there? Ooh, 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 don't, no.
Don't drop me, please. No, it's great. And like I said, you're home, and there's this huge sense of accomplishment and relief.
They're removing the protective cover around the seal that leads into Dragon Endeavour. That's to prevent any FOD from getting on it, but they will now take pictures and document exactly how it looks before they seal it shut, put a nice bright light on it, and go around and do that inspection.
It's always amazing to me that how little FOD, this debris that can cause a leak in the seal, and the seal is just a piece of rubber that's going to press up against a piece of metal, and something like dust or a hair is enough to create a leak path that it's going to fail the leak check. And that's really important, because this hatch is going to stay closed for the next 6+ months and protect the capsule and the crew from the vacuum of space, from all the air inside the capsule leaking out into space.
You mentioned the 6-month baseline for Crew 11. That is currently the minimum amount of time they will spend on station. However, the commercial crew program is reviewing data along with SpaceX to certify Dragon for an 8-month stay. They're going to go ahead and let them launch. And then that certification is expected to happen sometime in October, and that will stretch their stay out to 8 months. And I've never heard of any astronaut saying, oh no, I get to stay longer.
Every day in space is a treat. It's a gift. It's just such a spectacular experience, and it doesn't get old. So at the end of 180 days, this last mission I did was 171 days. The one before was 203. You're still sad to leave at the end. It's mixed emotions, but it's every day up there is a gift.
I got a little sad when you left yesterday.
Stuck in tight quarters with me for 6 hours.
Got so used to you after 6 hours of being here, saying all these wonderful things about space, and I got in my truck and Nick's gone. Good thing we scrubbed. Good thing we scrubbed, because I'll see him again tomorrow.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor listening to you tell these stories. And we have one last one. We want to talk about the most recent mission, of course, Crew 9. And this was, just last year. So you had a
it hasn't even been a year since I launched.
No,
yeah,
right. I mean, you're still pretty fresh from space, Nick.
Yeah, it's you can see Alex and I. It looks a little more spacious in there when there's only 2 people.
Sure does.
Yeah, but at the end of September, in July, the decision was made to switch to a 2-person crew so that we could create open seats there for Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams to come back with Alex and I. Their Starliner had some issues, and so they, NASA decided to bring it back uncrewed, and so Butch and Sonny, they made the decision to have them join our crew and rotational mission to go up there and do a 6-month full-length, long-duration mission. And so Alex and I launched, and priority 1, beautiful launch. Ours was kind of the exact opposite of what we had yesterday.
I know.
Where it was, the weather was trash all day long, except for the 30 minutes right before launch. And so we launched into this beautiful hole in the sky. And yesterday was just the exact opposite. The priority was, let's get to space and let's integrate Butch and Sonny into the Crew 9 crew. And so you can see us there in the capsule together. Butch is in the far field. Sonny's just off the camera in the near field. And from, day 2 on the station, we were Crew 9 there for our, 6 months of scientific research. That is the mission, is to go up there and do that research and maintain the station and, continue to discover. And then we were able to, get everybody back home safe, which in the end, that's again what it's about. It's about getting back to the family and giving them a hug.
And that was such a high-profile mission, Nick. It was very much in the spotlight. Even, when I talk to people who know I work at NASA, they say, "Oh, what those 2 astronauts that got stuck up at station?" It's like, that was stuck was the word, but just did not.
Stuck got stuck.
Yeah, right, it did. Stuck. But they transitioned. NASA made a decision, and immediately they became test flight, crew members into regular increment mission specialists. And they just made the pivot. They worked on station. They worked alongside you. They were a part of Crew 9.
Yeah.
And you brought them home on Dragon. And, it was really making the best of a situation, a decision that was made, to get full use of their time being, having expended the energy, the effort, the money to get them up on station. Yeah. Hey, let's put them to work.
Yeah, and yesterday and today, the
Dragon
theme.
SpaceX, the closeout team is taking final steps in preparation for side hatch closure. Stand by for hatch closure and then transition to pad hatch closed. Ensure all items are secure from now through launch.
Dragon copies and Wilco.
Last waves goodbye to the pad team, and
there they are.
Shut that hatch.
And the closeout crew closes the hatch to Dragon Endeavour, sealing the astronauts inside for their journey to the International Space Station. What you were saying?
Well, the theme is, if there's a theme, I think you hear it echoed in Zena's words that we've played today, and as in our discussion yesterday, you've heard the same thing in Mike and Kimiya and Oleg's words. It's not, space exploration is not about individuals. It's about the mission. And this risky endeavor that we take part in, we don't do it because of the thrill, we do it because of the mission. And so the Crew 9 mission is just another mission in this long legacy of the 25 years of the space station operations, and making that happen, doing the scientific discovery and research up there. So yeah, we brought Butch and Sonny into Crew 9, and it's a testament, to their competency and professionalism. From day one, they were all in and able to operate as full up crew members.
You worked alongside them every single day of that mission, of that 7-month mission.
Absolutely. And they are amazing crewmates, and everything the ground threw at us, we were able to do. And that's also a huge testament to the teams that prep us to get ready to fly. I talked about the 95% of the time we're training for things that we don't expect to happen, but just in case. And they had done training just in case they got stretched. They had done spacewalk training, they had done robotics training, they had done the things that they needed to do just in case this thing we don't think is ever going to happen might happen. And that's what we do every day, is we prepare for that. And so that's we talk about a professional astronaut corps. That's what a professional astronaut corps prepares to do. But that demands that we have this team that helps us get there. And so those are the rock stars behind this whole story, is this team of trainers that had the foresight and the imagination to come up with the things that they think we might need, and they got them ready, and we were able to adapt and overcome the challenges that were thrown at us.
And you and your team adapted extremely well. It was a successful mission. We saw the last photo of you guys coming back down. And here you are today, co-hosting our launch broadcast to see Crew 11 into space. If you're just now joining us, you're watching live coverage from NASA and SpaceX of Crew 11's launch to the International Space Station. T0 is 11:43 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a little more than 2 hours before we lift off. Weather is 60% go. We're keeping a close eye on the winds and the convective activity we expect around that time, but the hope is that we'll have a nice spot to launch through into the sky and on into space. You mentioned all the work that you did when you were on Crew 9, and of course a lot of that focuses around research on the ISS. The International Space Station is one of the most extraordinary labs that has ever been built. And it's the final destination, of course, for Crew 11. Let's take a closer look now at the science happening up there in low Earth orbit, and how it's improving life for all of us down here on Earth.
The International Space Station isn't just a symbol, it's a powerhouse of cutting-edge science, constantly revealing secrets that defy Earth's limitations and drive us farther into the cosmos.
Our mission is research and science. We have experiments mounted on the outside of the station that are looking at Earth. We study our own bodies and how they react to space, to weightlessness, to radiation. And that helps not only us go on further in future missions, but also helps for medical research back home. And then we study lots of different things as well, like materials, combustion, all sorts of things that help us understand life back on Earth.
Yeah.
Microgravity doesn't play by the rules, it flips them upside down, transforming how liquids flow, how flames burn, and unraveling biological mysteries before our eyes.
I saw some heart tissues beating in space and it was incredible.
So Tom, we see that top one beating. Looks like happy heart cells.
But we're not just along for the ride. We're explorers, diving headfirst into the challenge and harnessing the power of this unparalleled platform, just as we have been for decades. We're on a relentless quest for answers, seeking to understand the intricate workings of the human body in space and ensuring future crews stay safe on their daring journeys beyond Earth's orbit.
The human aspect of human space exploration is always going to be very important for decades to come.
And when it comes to technology, we're not waiting around. We're discovering new ways to grow crops in harsh environments and engineering innovations to tackle Earth's greatest challenges.
We have amazing technology that allows us to recycle water and create water for us to drink. It's delicious.
Microgravity isn't just a curiosity, it's a game changer in the fight against diseases back on Earth, paving the way for breakthroughs that benefit us all and enabling new economic opportunities in space.
Welcome Axiom 3 on board the International Space Station.
From our vantage point more than 200 miles above Earth, we are not just spectators. We're gaining unprecedented insights into the world we call home, and we're sharing our findings openly. We're not just achieving results today. We're sparking inspiration in future generations of explorers and embracing the power of global collaboration as we reach for the stars.
What was your favorite experiment on the International Space Station?
Toby, great question. My favorite experiment was the one that I got to eat. It was us growing Hatch chili peppers in our plant habitat.
Station Huntsville on 2. We have video in Node 1. Look at those chili peppers.
And as we soar through space at 17,500 miles per hour, each moment is a step closer to unlocking the mysteries of our Earth, our universe, and propelling our pioneering spirit even farther into space. So come along for the ride aboard the International Space Station.
The beauty of the International Space Station and all the science that's happening aboard.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Why are we there? It's science. It's science in the space environment and in the radiation environment. It's science in microgravity, where you can float without end, and you can't do that anywhere else.
Well, as you can see from this shot, looking skyward, up past the Falcon 9 rocket and Endeavour spacecraft, our astronauts are aboard. They are strapped in. They've had suit leak checks. They've had comm checks. And we're starting to get a few little clouds in the sky. That's expected. It's warm here in Florida on this first day of August. And it's also very humid, even more humid than it was yesterday. As you can see, the puffy cumulus clouds are accumulating a little earlier today. While we have this moment where we have a natural pause in the action, Let's take a look at our crew today and introduce you to the entire team. They are led by Crew 11 Commander, NASA astronaut Zena Cardman. She holds a Master of Science in Marine Sciences from UNC Chapel Hill. Cardman has experience with NASA research in the Canadian High Arctic and has supported real-time station operations and lunar surface exploration planning. She also likes rock climbing and powerlifting in her free time. And you trained with her for over a year.
Yeah, almost 18 months. She's a person of many talents. But most importantly, she's got an infectious personality. Her positivity and she's just a fun person to hang out with.
It does. It radiates from her.
It does. Yep.
You know?
Yep. And that's, if you're going to be in a capsule for 15 hours or 20 hours or 40 hours, or you're going to be in a station in close proximity to somebody for 6 months or more, you want somebody that you enjoy hanging out with.
And I certainly enjoyed our time together when she co-hosted our launch broadcast for Crew 9, when we watched you, Nick, go up into space. Michael Fincke is our pilot and funny man. Only, according to him, the only second funniest crew member aboard. He is a veteran of 3 space flights. Fincke has completed 9 spacewalks, totaling 48 hours and 37 minutes of EVA time. He spent 382 days in space. Fincke is a certified pilot for Boeing Starliner and SpaceX Crew Dragon, as well as a co-pilot, flight engineer on Soyuz, and a mission specialist on the Space Shuttle. Fincke enjoys spending time with his family, traveling, geology, and learning new languages.
Equally, somebody that's enjoyable to hang out with.
That's true.
It's, you can say that about all of this crew. Just
Dragon
great
SpaceX,
people.
we had a good side hatch leak check.
Dragon copies. Good leak check. Great news.
That is great news.
That is. And so that means that the crew is sealed up inside, safe from the hostile environment of space once this Dragon spacecraft gets into
Dragon SpaceX,
gets into orbit.
We are commencing health check for a launch escape system. Expect momentary flight computer state change, followed by a transition back to pad hatch closed.
Dragon copies. We'll monitor the flight computer state changes.
Now, this is an important milestone to check the health of the launch escape system.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're doing it well in advance of when, we would turn on the launch escape system and activate it at about the T-45 point before you start to add your propellant and your oxidizer to the rocket. You want to do that early, so if there is any issues you need to troubleshoot, you've got time to do it. So this is the early checkout of that system.
Let's introduce you to our mission specialist now. Kimiya Yui is the JAXA astronaut on board. He's Crew 11's mission specialist, and with 142 days in space, this will be Yui's second trip to the space station. Yui flew as a flight engineer for Expedition 4445 and became the first Japanese astronaut to capture JAXA's H-2 transfer vehicle. In November of 2016, Yui was assigned as chief of the JAXA astronaut group.
And when you think about his history, capturing the H-2, the HTV, it'd be pretty spectacular if he could capture HTVX as it comes up.
Absolutely, and that's the plan. So if HTVX, which is Japan's newest vehicle, which is going to start docking with the space station, if it all works out, JAXA is really hoping that he'll be at the helm of the the Canadian arm, which will grapple the spacecraft and bring it in to space station.
That'd be fabulous. The international aspects of the space station can't be you can't overstate the importance of it. It's just the way we're able to collaborate and cooperate together. You know, using the Canada arm to grab a JAXA vehicle,
Dragon
and
SpaceX
just,
4
it's
status
spectacular
update.
how we work together.
Both Dragon and Falcon 9 are healthy, and we are looking good for the count. The main watch item is going to be what we briefed you in the weather briefing earlier today, which is the probability of violation at 40% due to weather at the launch site. That is the same as the weather briefing. We are going to keep an eye on that as the count progresses.
Copy. Healthy Dragon, healthy Falcon. Our watch item is weather, which as briefed is 40% chance of violation. We'll be monitoring. Crew will be ready to go.
And lastly, the Crew 11 mission specialist, Roscosmos cosmonaut, Oleg Platonov. This will be his first trip to the International Space Station. He graduated from the Krasnodar Higher Military Aviation School of Pilots with a degree in engineering and military rank of lieutenant. He is married with one child, and he is taking a toy from that child. Who the child is good
that
with
sounded
it.
terrible.
It doesn't. He has taken his children's toys, but he's taken it into space. If we
Here, I'm going to take your favorite toy away from you.
Is this
no.
your favorite? Okay.
No, and that's one of the cool things that, you know, we're allowed to do is take, you know, little mementos that, you know, we can take that remind us of our friends and family and loved ones, and then we, you know, at the end of the day, we get to bring that back to them, and then his child's going to be able to hold that dear the rest of their life.
It really has to be special. I have a son, a young son, and I look at his toys with nostalgia, right? I see him play with them. I see how much they mean to him. And then to add that additional sentimentality to it that's just cool. And, you know, his kid will, I'm sure, see some video clip in some way of that toy floating around, right?
Yeah,
So
it makes it more tangible.
Right.
That I held it in my hands, and now I see it in space, and somehow that draws your, you know, I did the same thing with my kids. It draws them closer to that experience. Yeah. So the vehicle's clean, everything is tracking well, and we're waiting on a weather update. I propose we focus on the 60% go as opposed to the 40% probability of violation. It seems more glass half full.
It does, doesn't it? And that's what we put on our graphic. We put the go. Officially, it's given to us in a POV.
And I understand that. You know, statistics are the way they are for a reason.
That's right.
But
Nick is
positive thoughts
he
today.
is doing his best with the positivity here, and I appreciate it greatly. Okay, so we have a confirmed hatch closure. And so we'll start to see the closeout crew wrap up operations there in the White Room. And all of this is well ahead of schedule. So that's a good thing. They got plenty of margin if they need it.
Absolutely. Margin's a good thing to have.
How about some more social questions?
I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah, keep them coming, folks. You can do it with hashtag AskNASA through the various platforms, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Twitch. Our next question. Abigail C3 asks, are there any space, quote, pioneers that have inspired Nick during his career or leading up to it? Did you have mentors at NASA? Well, let's take the first half of that question and talk about the pioneers.
Yeah, pioneers. I read lots of biographies, autobiographies, as I was growing up of, the Apollo generation, the early space program. I was fortunate enough on my first space flight, actually before that, after I'd been selected at NASA, every couple years we have a reunion where all the current astronauts, former astronauts gather together, and I got to meet Michael Collins, and he is somebody that I had always looked up to, and it just, if you read his book, or you just read his history, uh, for me, he was the epitome of, we said it earlier today, it's not about the individual. You do the job that the mission requires you to do, and to be part of the crew that landed on the moon, uh, that first landed on the moon, but be the only member that, hey, your job is so important, we need you to stay off of the moon to make sure that we can get them back home safely, and you do what it takes, and that's what we ask of everybody that joins the astronaut corps is we're going to need you to do what the mission requires, and that's an example that sticks in my mind, and during my first flight, he came to mission control, and I was able to actually do a downlink and chat with him.
Oh, wow.
So it was a full circle moment, and something I'll never forget.
Michael Collins, of course, was part of Apollo 11, which launched in 1969 and helped land the first man on the moon for the United States. But as you mentioned, he was called at times the loneliest man in the world, because it was his job to stay back in the capsule while Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin descended down to the surface of the moon, and got the white hot attention of the entire world.
Yeah.
When they walked on the moon, and there was Michael Collins, steady, waiting for them to get back,
taking care
by
of
himself.
the ship, taking care of the ship, making sure that
Yeah.
he was ready to receive them when they came back.
And then what about now? If you can share, do you have any mentors?
Well, the astronaut office is such a close group. You get to interact with so many people. So, I can point to today's crew. So Spanky's been part of the office since I showed up. And
This is Mike Fincke.
Yeah, and he has, been there as kind of this force helping shape the commercial crew program, and just being able to watch that. And we have a similar background. I was a Air Force flight test engineer before I transferred over to the Space Force a few years ago, and he was an Air Force flight test engineer, and so we had a similar military background, and so there's lots of those touch points inside the astronaut corps, and so we work together to make each other better.
Such tremendous experience just within the astronaut corps. It's a great point, Nick. You've got highly experienced veterans who have flown on space shuttle, and you have the new generation of astronauts who are flying on the commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
So it spans the gamut.
It does. It does. Well, Expedition 72. My U.S. crew members up there were Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, and Don Pettit. So by comparison, I was the rookie. But I had, previously done 3 spacewalks and been up there 200 plus days.
Right.
I was still the rookie. So there's lots of experience inside the astronaut corps, and part of that is making sure that experience gets shared down. So it's exciting to watch Zena and Oleg launch on their first missions to start to accumulate some of that experience. It's it's a passing of the baton.
Really enjoying your insight and your experience as you talk about it, Nick. Astronaut Nick Hague. Here with us, Commander of Crew 9, also flew on Soyuz. We are T-minus 1 hour and 49 minutes and counting until the liftoff of NASA's SpaceX Crew 11 mission. We have 2 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut inside of the Dragon Endeavour, atop the Falcon 9 rocket from Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Of course, they are headed to the International Space Station to help maintain the orbiting lab. Once on board the International Space Station, Crew 11, as you see there, will become members of Expedition 7374. They will conduct research to develop the production of nutrients in space, such as vitamins. They will also evaluate mass-producing human-induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs, to develop cell-based therapies for diseases such as cancer, also as a possible alternative to antibiotics. Crew 11 will test phage therapy to treat bacterial infections. So Nick and I are standing by now as we are listening in to a weather brief. So please stand by. Again, we are standing by as we're listening to a weather brief from Launch Weather Officer James Tager to SpaceX's launch director. Please stand by. Okay. All right, so we have been listening to a weather brief. This was off air, by the way, but Nick and I listening to Launch Weather Officer James Tager give an update to Launch Director for SpaceX on the weather. This is something that they had set up a few hours ago to do one at the T minus 2 hour mark. And so here we are, and we have the update. And basically what they said was, it is a sit, watch, and wait situation. We do have increased moisture in the atmosphere. You can certainly see that in the picture in the lower right hand of your screen. Cumulus clouds, light ones building in the area. The question is, when that these sea breeze storms and clouds develop, they are going to develop inland, which that launch pad that you see right there is literally 500 feet from the beach. So it's all the way as close as you can get to the water, right there at the Atlantic Ocean. But you see two things here in the weather. You see some low, thin, puffy cumulus starting to, be created in the area, starting to develop. And then you see those high cirrus clouds. Those high clouds are drier in nature. You want to see those. They are moving over the area. They look at those as a sign of good things, potentially to kind of mitigate against the increase in moisture. But overall, when the launch weather officer was asked where he would put the current POV updated to the second right now, he left it at 40% probability of violation, which puts us at a 60% go. That has been the go forecast since we began our launch broadcast this morning. You see there in that shot a line of cumulus clouds, nice little clouds there. The scale, the angle of this kind of throws you off because it makes it look like it's out in front of it, but those clouds are more over towards the land side. So we will see what happens with our sea breeze. We're watching it closely. We're also watching the weather along the ascent corridor. Showers are moving through that area at this moment. We also need to have good conditions there. This is where the Dragon could potentially splash down. But what's good about the showers there, Nick, is that they are expected to clear that area in an hour or so. So hoping for a good ascent corridor. And then, of course, you have the abort zones. If they were to get to orbit, that they would later splash down to. They are monitoring those as well. So essentially, more watching, more waiting. We've got a crew that's ready to go. And we've got weather that's just a watch item and continues to be at this moment.
Yeah, no, it's actually, for me, it's fun to listen to that back channel conversation, back and forth between, the weather office over at the 45th Space Launch Delta and SpaceX, because you get to hear the depth of analysis that's going into, making sure that every step of the way the weather is going to be good enough for the crew, and so things are continuing to go. We're still 60% go. I'm staying positive, and it's great.
Well, we got really close yesterday at 12:09 p.m. Eastern time. We were just a minute away. And so today we'll be at 11:43 a.m. Eastern time. So if everything tracks as it did yesterday, then we should be good to go. How about that for some positivity from your co-host?
I love it.
Okay. All right. T-minus 1 hour and 40 minutes and counting. Let's take you now inside Mission Control in Houston, where flight controllers are constantly monitoring the International Space Station and the people living aboard. NASA's Sandra Jones is live there at Johnson Space Center. Sandra, good morning.
Hey, good morning, and thank you, Daryl. As you said, this is Mission Control Houston in the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. The team is continuing to prepare for launch today and is being led by Flight Director Anthony Varia. Today, we will be hopefully launching the 11th rotational crew mission to the International Space Station under the agency's Commercial Crew Program. Following Crew 11's arrival, the space station will have a total of 11 crew members representing 3 different agencies aboard for just a few days. Once on board, Crew 11 will go over handover procedures with the off-going Crew 10, including a safety briefing and orientation, And then the new crew will jump right in to help advance scientific knowledge and demonstrate new technologies. After a few days of handover activities, the members of Crew 10 will prepare for their undocking and return to Earth. Direct handovers between crews allow for continuity of the activities and helps to ensure a continuous U.S. presence on the International Space Station, which is about to celebrate 25 years of continuous human presence in November. Ahead of Crew 10's return, JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi will turn over command of the International Space Station to Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Ryzhikov. The space station is currently in Expedition 73. And here is a look at that mission patch on your screen. In the fall, NASA astronaut Chris Williams and Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Kutsverchkin and Sergei Mikheyev will join the on-orbit crew. Shortly after the departure of the Soyuz MS-27 with NASA astronaut Johnny Kim coming home will mark the commencement of Expedition 74, which will be led by the new commander, NASA astronaut Mike Fincke. All this, of course, coming up after today's launch. We will continue with the countdown, and with under 2 hours before launch, we'll send it back over to Kennedy.
All right, thank you, Sandra Jones. Back here at Kennedy Space Center, you're looking up at the Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon Endeavour with Crew 11 inside the spacecraft at the very top. This is Launch Complex 39A here at the Kennedy Space Center, a historic launch pad where launches to the moon have happened, as well as the long and very successful space shuttle program. We've documented the astronauts' path and crew members' path to the pad today, starting at T-minus 4 hours and 10 minutes. We saw them through suit up, all 4 crew members getting into their spacesuits. They checked them for leaks and then had them head out the door to their waiting vehicles. 3 Teslas parked outside astronaut crew quarters. They jumped inside and under security escort made a 20-minute drive across the Kennedy Space Center to this location that you see here, Launch Complex 39A. Once inside their spacecraft, they performed umbilical checks, they did communication checks, and they pressurized their suits a second time to make sure they are good to go for launch. The closeout crew sealed the door, the side hatch, which is used to enter the spacecraft as well as leave it. They sealed it up for the final time before going into space. And now we are marching to our next few milestones. We have some margin in the schedule now, so a little time for the astronauts to, as Nick was telling us yesterday, do some reflection, chat amongst themselves. And there was a phrase that you used as well yesterday, chair fly.
Yeah, aviation term.
Yeah.
To, sit there and visualize what you have to do and go through the motions mentally of everything that's going to come down the road. And so chair flying the launch sequence and everything that you're going to have to do, thinking about all the different radio calls, all the different cues that you need to be able to see. That's chair flying.
Well, let's chair fly ourselves right to the International Space Station now with some video. We are commemorating a very significant anniversary coming up on November 2nd, 25 years of continuous human presence aboard the orbiting laboratory.
And liftoff. International Space Station is underway.
We are in the golden age of the space station right now in terms of the return on investment and what we're able to do there.
One of the great legacies of the space station is not just going to be science, but very importantly, the international cooperation. This is perhaps most prominent, international cooperation for exploration.
Yeah, what a view. 25 years. When I first joined the astronaut corps, I'd go to elementary schools and say, everybody in this room doesn't know life without someone living off of the planet Earth. Now I can do that at colleges. It's just impressive, the legacy of scientific research and international cooperation that the station program has built over the last 2.5 decades. It's a treat to be part of that, and everybody that's part of humans human space flight, that big team I keep referring to, that 100,000 people across the globe, everybody should be so proud of being part of that.
One of the first things Crew 11 did as a team was design their mission patch. You, of course, participated in the design of yours. This is Crew 11's patch. Its colors celebrate the three nations they represent, and the three stars you see in there, they honor their space agencies working together, NASA, JAXA, and Roscosmos. Two sunbeams form the number 11 that you see shaded in the background, shining on a tiny blue dot, our home on Earth. A dragon looks on, a nod to both the spacecraft and the spirit of exploration, while a red flame wraps around it, all symbolizing the full journey: launch, life in space, and a safe return home. And if you look closely, you can see a tribute to their children in the stars, a reminder that missions like this inspire the next generation.
Yeah, it's designing your patch is one of those first crew bonding experiences. You put your ideas out there, but it's fun to see the final product because it really expresses the personality of the crew. And Zena hand drew the dragon, so
did she?
She's an artist.
We're going to talk more about her artistic talent later in the show when we get closer to liftoff. Look forward to doing that around T-minus 13 minutes. Right now, we want to talk about the flight kits. Nick, each crew member gets to bring personal stuff aboard the ISS. You don't get to bring a lot, and you in fact have a designated volume, right?
Yeah, so a small bag, getting things to and from space is expensive, but it is important because you are going to be living on the space station. And so being able to bring some personal effects that help connect you and ground you to your friends and family and loved ones that are on the ground. So here's a small bag. You get to put a few things in it. Can't be too heavy, can't be too big, and everybody brings up unique things.
And certainly that's what Commander Zena Cardman did. And you had a hand in helping get her her flight kit stowed away and put into place. She told us that she's bringing, of course, photographs of family and friends, photographs carrying that have her team members in it. She's carrying some for them that she's going to then return to them. Training team, instructors, flight controllers, the people who keep the crew safe while they fly. And so she has those, but in addition, she also has cards that her late father wrote her that have been up there since Crew 9 went up, since you went up.
Yeah, so the things that we get to take up often don't ride up with us in the Crew Dragon. They come up on a cargo vehicle, and so our Crew 9 effects went up before the crew change happened. And so some of her personal items have been up there since over a year ago. And,
Wow.
and so part of it was when we got up there, making sure that we were able to set her things aside, to set Stephanie Wilson's things aside, and so that when they get to the station, they're going to be able to find them.
Michael Fincke is bringing something that is very familiar to him on missions that he's gone on in the past. He's taking his wife's gamusa from her side of the family. It's a type of silk scarf from her home state of Assam. It carries with it the blessings for his trip to the ISS from her side of the family. He took one on all three of his previous missions. The one that he did aboard the space shuttle, as well as his 2 Soyuz missions. He's been married for 25 and a half years, and so something that's very personal and very important to him. Kimiya is bringing a lot of pictures of family and friends, and he's going to give some of them back to those friends. And we mentioned Oleg earlier, taking pictures, and also a couple of toys.
He's borrowing.
He's borrowing.
He's borrowing
That's a
this
good way to put it. With a very much an intent on returning them with some additional status. A space flown toy.
Yeah, the space flown. There's something about. I think this desire to bring photographs, to bring things to space, and then bring them back to your friends and family. It's really the desire is to bring them to space with you. And the best I can do is bring a little bit of space back to you. But yeah, if I could bring everybody, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to like go from 700 people that have been in space to 700,000 people that have been in space to, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
The more people we can get in space, appreciating and experiencing just that life-changing perspective, the better off the planet's going to be. And these are small gestures we do for our families to share that with them, but then also to let them know how important they are to actually putting us in those seats on that rocket, because you don't get there on your own. It takes a team to get you there. It takes the family, the love, and the support to get you there.
In addition to the flight kits, of course, Crew 11 taking science up as well. And some of the experiments they'll be working on include how do you grow vitamins in space, or even use viruses to fight bacteria on a spacecraft. For the past year and a half, Crew 11 has been training to support cutting-edge research like this aboard the International Space Station. First up is Bionutrients 3. This study is looking at how to make essential vitamins and nutrients in space so astronauts can stay healthy on long missions. They'll be testing samples like yogurt, kefir, and a yeast-based drink to see how well they work in microgravity. Next is Stem Cell X IP1, which uses space to grow stem cells. These cells can turn into any type of cell in the body and could one day help treat diseases like cancer. Growing them in microgravity may produce more cells and better ones, higher quality stem cells that we can then use on Earth. And then there's Genes in Space 12. It's testing phage therapy, which uses viruses that target and kill bacteria. It could be a powerful alternative to antibiotics, especially in space, where infections can become harder to treat. Some pretty interesting research happening on station, Dick, and stem cells, of course, that research has been around for a little bit, and even you got to work on stem cells in space in your time on the ISS.
Yeah, and the comparison between my first mission and my second mission, just the complexity of the experiments that we've been able to start to do up there it's just exploded. And so we're really starting to see return on the investment on maximizing the output of our facilities up there. But those three experiments that you highlighted are they're pretty cool because they highlight different aspects. The stem cells, genes in space 12, it's the 12th iteration. So we've been doing this
very similar to the ones that were in play yesterday. We have a sea breeze that's going to be coming onto land, as it always does this time of year, and it cooks up things in the atmosphere. The question today, though, is with our T0 at 11:43 a.m. Eastern time, we're just a little bit earlier, about 22 minutes earlier than yesterday's T0 due to orbital mechanics. So hopefully, if the same setup happens as it did yesterday with the weather, we would launch today because that cumulus cloud would not be around.
Absolutely. It is. I'm an optimist. We're going. Astronauts have to be optimists.
They really do, right? And as we look on our screen, we are seeing the astronauts that are flying today, and that is Commander Zena Cardman. Her crew made their way into the suit-up room, as they did yesterday. Once again, getting suited up, the gloves, the suit, the helmet, the boots. This is a time to make sure that everything is ready, Nick.
Yep. This is, you start the day, you hop in your suit. This is the first check of a couple different checks you're going to do of the suit. Just making sure that, if you ever needed this to hold pressure in the event of an emergency during launch or landing, that it's going to work for you. And so sitting in a suit there, you've got the suit techs strapping her in and hooking her up, and pretty soon she's going to close her visor and they'll take her to pressure.
Let's learn a little bit more about Zena as she prepares for her space flight today. Zena Cardman.
Countdown advanced team have arrived in the White Room. This is on schedule.
On schedule today, out there at the launch pad. That's what that call was for. This is the advanced team that gets everything ready at the pad. So that's great news, running on time. Zena Cardman, she is commanding Crew 11. She was born in Urbana, Illinois, but calls Williamsburg, Virginia, her hometown. She's a scientist at heart with degrees in biology and marine science from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Before joining NASA, Zena did field work in some of the most extreme environments on Earth, including Antarctica, the Canadian High Arctic, and volcanic terrain in Idaho and Hawaii. She gives us a big thumbs up and a big A-OK sign. She was selected as part of NASA's 2017 astronaut class known as the Turtles. Zena was originally assigned to Crew 9, the mission that Nick Hague flew on, my co-host, but was later reassigned to command Crew 11 to support changes in station operations. And when she's not training for spaceflight, she enjoys rock climbing, writing poetry. She's an artist, can draw amazingly. We'll talk about more about that later. And she's also a power lifter.
Yeah, what can't she do?
That's the question. And she is, and we've had astronauts like her before in the past launches, doesn't come from a test pilot background or even a military pilot
background.
Yeah,
that, you point that out. That's unique. She is, of her crew, the only one that doesn't have the military aviation background. She is a civilian scientist and quite capable by everything that you listed out.
Fascinating that she is leading these military pilots in this endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely. Shows that leadership comes in all forms.
Absolutely. Next up, our Crew 11 pilot. Speaking of military pilots, NASA astronaut Michael Fincke. He's a Pennsylvania native and a veteran of 3 previous space flights, spending more than a year of his life in orbit. He first flew to space in 2004 as a flight engineer on Expedition 9. He then returned in 2009 to command Expedition 18, where he helped prep the station for future 6-person crews. In 2011, he took part in the second to last, the penultimate flight of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, STS-134. But it was the final flight of Endeavour itself, logging 3 more spacewalks along the way. Fincke's also been a key player in NASA's commercial crew efforts, supporting development of the Boeing Starliner. He served as a backup pilot for a crew flight test, helping shape Starliner's avionics and software from the ground up. He also co-hosted a launch broadcast, so we all got to know him really well during his time serving as a co-host. Outside of spaceflight, he's a passionate learner into geology, astronomy, reading, and languages, and he's conversant in both Japanese and Russian, a skill that comes in handy on the International Space Station. He's also a kind of a favorite of the commercial crew program because they work with him so much in the lead up to putting Dragon and Starliner on that path to becoming vehicles that travel to the space station.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been at the heart of the development of commercial crew programs capabilities over the last decade. His heart and soul is in this program, and his fingerprints are all over it. And it's exciting to see him taking one of those for a ride.
It's been 14 years, a long time waiting for him since his last flight, but he's hung in there.
Yeah, he more than hung in there. He's been hard at work. So this is going to be a great day.
Our mission specialist for Crew 11, our first one, is Kimiya Yui. There he is, representing the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA, a former test pilot and Air Force officer. Yui graduated from Japan's National Defense Academy in 1992 and rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel in the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force. He was selected as a JAXA astronaut in 2009 and made his first trip to space in 2015, spending 142 days aboard the International Space Station as part of expeditions 44 and 45. During that mission, he made history as the first Japanese astronaut to capture JAXA's H-2 transfer vehicle, a crucial piece of cargo hardware. He also helped build out a new experimental module inside Kibo, Japan's laboratory on station, and carried out 21 experiments on behalf of JAXA. In 2016, Yui was named chief of JAXA's astronaut group, and today he is on his way back to space. And Mike Fincke calls him the wise one.
Well, you can see why, or his experiences show that he has that wisdom that he brings to the job. But he also has a good sense of humor and a great personality. So Kimiya is an amazing guy and fun to always work with when you get the chance.
Rounding out our crew, mission specialist Oleg Platonov, flying to space for the very first time. And there he is. He's a cosmonaut with Roscosmos, Russia's space agency, and a graduate of the Krasnodar Higher Military Aviation School of Pilots. That's where he earned a degree in engineering and the rank of lieutenant. Platonov completed his cosmonaut training in 2018 and was certified as a test cosmonaut that same year. Earlier this year, Roscosmos announced that he would launch to the International Space Station aboard a Crew Dragon as part of Crew 11. That marked a new chapter in international collaboration. He is married, has one child, and today begins his first journey to space, weather permitting.
Yeah, and so Oleg's in the newest class of cosmonauts over there, and had the chance to cross paths with him a couple times. He has just got an amazing personality.
Core countdown, side hatches open, on schedule.
Continue to be on schedule. That's good. And he's got a great sense of humor. He loves to crack jokes, and is just a really great guy.
Mike Fincke says he's funnier than he is, than himself. Which is...
Mike's a funny guy, so that's a pretty high bar.
And he knows it, apparently. Well, if you're watching right now, we would love for you to be part of the show. And so just send us a note, send Nick a question. We'll be looking at those throughout today's broadcast. Just send it to us via our media platforms on X, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, and use the hashtag AskNASA. We'll be answering those questions live as we count down to launch. So don't be shy. Jump into that conversation. Nick wants to hear from you. We want to get your questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we only got to like 4 questions yesterday. I'd like to get to 10 times more.
10 times more?
Okay, maybe
what?
double. If we can squeeze in double, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Challenge to the broadcast team.
All right. Well, the challenge has been laid down, folks, as we watch Mike and Kimiya and Zena pose for pictures. the location we're at is the astronaut crew quarters. This is the suit up room inside the operations and checkout facility. This is about a 20-minute drive from the launch pad. And this is where the team gets ready. This is their second time going through this routine. So given that, Nick, do they get any quicker as they get ready?
Well, they're definitely more comfortable. You can tell that today. You know, so this is the third time that they've gone through this process in the last week. You had dry dress, and then yesterday.
Suit up and leak checks are complete on schedule.
And as we can tell, they pass their leak checks because they're doing photo ops in the suit up room. But you know, after going through a scrub the next day, you know, everything's pretty fresh. The nerves aren't as there as much. You still have that blender of emotions that you're going to be going through, but you're ready to go. And you can tell the mood is positive and they are excited.
I do sense that more relaxed vibe inside this room than it was yesterday. It seemed like there maybe was a little more nervous energy, but just like you said.
This is LD on countdown with a situational briefing. Currently, all bottles are at MEOP, and earlier Dragon gyro compass alignment was completed and passing. We remain on track to an 11:43:42 a.m. Eastern T0. Both NASA and SpaceX have completed the COLA screening process with no COLA conjunctions at our current T0. The advanced team is at the White Room and the side hatch is open, and they're making preparations for receiving the crew. Crew's ongoing suit up at the ONC building. Launch